and welcome to another monthly live Q&A. I'm super excited about the one that we have this month because I get to talk to all of my wonderful colleagues and get to introduce them to everyone. So be sure if you're joining us to let us know in the comments where you're viewing from. That's always fun to see where people are coming from. And I tend to begin with a little just Toronto weather update, which is that it is very cold. We're at the tail end of a polar vortex. It's kind of broken, so it's only a balmy -7 right now, but all week we've been suffering with -20 something. But so we're going to have a bit of a Q&A with our international Kobo Writing Life colleagues. So if you have any questions, drop them into the chat and I'll pull them up throughout. I would love to hear all of your questions for the team, and I'll start pulling them through as well. We have somebody coming in from Atlanta. Yeah, you guys are getting a cold spell. I saw that it snowed in New Orleans and it's getting cold in places where it hasn't existed before. But that's interesting. I'll be in Atlanta at their self-publishing conference in March. Just a heads up there, that Kobo will be there. So let's get started with some introductions. So firstly, I'm going to start with Lara, who is coming in from KWL France. I want to say Paris, but I don't know if you're actually in Paris.
Yes,
okay.
I'm based in Paris, exactly.
Excellent. And then we have somebody viewing from Italy. So Beatrice, I'll go to you. So you're coming in from KWL Italy. Whereabouts?
Yes, exactly. I come from Milan and I'm based here. So yes.
And last but not least at all, Susan, we have who is coming in from the Netherlands. Hi, Susan. Can you tell everyone where you're coming in from?
Hello. Yes, I'm coming in from Utrecht, a beautiful town located in the center of the Netherlands.
Nice. Well, I appreciate stealing. I usually thank people for giving up their lunchtime, but you guys are giving up your dinner time to chat with us today. So I really appreciate that. And so again, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. But let's get started. So at Kobo, we talk a lot about how we have a globally local view of book selling. So I always sort of describe that as we're selling into a global market, but we also realize how important it is to have key people in each core, each of our really important markets, because book selling can be so nuanced. And it's really we lean heavily on the experts that are in those regions. So I guess with that in mind, could each of you maybe tell us a little bit about your market and any partners that Kobo works with there? So I'll start with Lara. I'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you. So in France, we are very lucky because we have an important and dear partner, Fnac, which has been working with us since the very beginning. I think Kobo being present in France. It's a retailer which is specialized in cultural products and electronics. And just to make you a picture, Kobo e-reader booths are really in the middle of the bookshelf. So we build this readership with Fnac, so a Kobo by Fnac readership, who really love book, appreciate general literature, feel good, sometimes a bit feel good novel too, women fiction a lot, and thriller, and more romance. And for the French market, I think it's a global trend worldwide, but romance is taking more and more space in the bookstores, and I think it's the most dynamic genre in France for now, maybe alongside manga, but it's another story. So very dynamic market here.
Well, it's just nicer to say amour than saying I don't even know actually if that's romance translated directly, but I feel like everything sounds a little bit better in French and Italian. And with that in mind, which is also amour, right? Amore. So Beatrice, can you tell us a little bit about the Italian market and any partners that are available there?
Yes, thank you, Tara, for this question. Just like Laura for France and for FNAC, we have a collaboration with the Mondadori and Feltrinelli, which, just like FNAC, are booksellers that also indulge in selling cultural products, so also music and DVDs. And we have our Kobo readers in the middle of the store, and people can just try and see if the look and feel is whatever they were imagining. But Mondadori and Feltrinelli are also two historical publishing houses, and so it's very great that they are also our partners because not only our e-readers had the chance to be shown in hundreds of bookstores because they have literally 100 each in the whole country, but also it's a great possibility for our self-publishing authors because they have the chance to get known by these publishing houses and maybe become in the future hybrid authors if they want to also try to have a chance in traditional publishing. And so we have many success stories in this sense. So self-publishing authors that started publishing with us get noticed also by traditional self-publishing houses and also started to uh, keep publishing with us because they want to have the freedom that self-publishing has.
Nice. I love that. It goes to show the different types of partnerships that we have as well. And then speaking to kind of a little bit different than a traditional brick and mortar store. Susan, can you speak about the Netherlands and like the market and the partnership there?
Yeah, so the Dutch market is quite an interesting one, despite the fact that it is relatively small. We have 23 million speakers of Dutch in the Netherlands and Belgium combined. For these customers, Kobo partnered up with bol.com. That's one of our oldest partnerships. Bol once started out as a bookstore, an only bookstore, and is nowadays like they sell everything you might possibly need. It's much like Amazon in that respect. And through this partnership, Kobo has become the market leader for ebooks in the Netherlands and Belgium. So most of the ebooks sold in these countries are actually sold through Kobo. And another interesting fact about the Dutch market is that Dutch readers are likely to read in English as well. So about a third of the Dutch readers will be likely to buy or read a book in English at some point, or read it in Kobo Plus. So that's, I think, the most interesting facts. E-readers are also sold through Bol and also through various electronic stores in the Netherlands and Belgium.
Yeah, I think that's super very specific to the Dutch market, like the high number of English readers. And Beatrice, I didn't ask you about and the same for you, Susan, like what are you seeing trends wise in what people are reading? I'm sure it's like romantasy has just taken over the world, but is there anything genre wise that you have noticed in your individual markets? I guess, Susan, I'll start with you because you were there first.
Yeah, so I see for some reason we don't have much of a hockey culture here, but I do see hockey romance novels taking a flight at the moment, and also cowboy novels. Although we don't have any cowboys here either. It's those are two interesting trends I saw coming up last summer. But, yeah, and for us it's mostly romantasy is also a thing here.
I wonder if it's Yellowstone has infiltrated the cowboy market and everyone is interested in more. Beatrice, do they like cowboys in Italy?
Actually, not cowboys, but our readers seems to really like millionaires, and who doesn't like millionaires? Millionaires and hot bosses. So, in romance, actually, we don't really see a lot of romantasies really trending in Italy. That's because also the fantasy is not really a genre that Italian readers seem to prefer. They prefer to read the classical, straight, contemporary romance, very like Emily Henry or A.Z. Hazelwood. So especially if they're set in offices or universities. But as Susan was saying, we are also seeing a rise in sport romances. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it was the Olympics. I was...
oh, that's a good point.
I think it was, the guy that jumped I don't know anything about sport, but he broke like a record, and the first thing that he did was run into his girlfriend. So I think that this kind of edit and this kind of meme really created an interest in,
Yeah.
reading about sport guys having just one love, and it's not their sport, but it's beautiful girlfriend. So I think so.
Well, I have to blame Taylor Swift, of course, probably as well for all of
Exactly. I
the
wanted to
interest
say
in the
that.
sports players.
Yes, it's absolutely yes. It's the alchemy. It's all that added so with the alchemy. So yeah,
Exactly.
Taylor Swift and a romance. You're right, Tara.
So we have a question pop up about translations. We'll get to that in a little bit. So we were kind of talking about Kobo and the readership in those areas. And like, I'm curious about how, from you guys really focusing on the indie author market, how can indie authors really use Kobo Writing Life to expand into like your specific areas? So Beatrice, I'll stay with you.
I think that the first thing that one author has to do if he has an interesting piece of writing is maybe reaching out to our team and communicating the best way we could promote it, because I think that the best thing for our KWL team is having a communication with the authors and having them explaining us which is the real best selling point of view of their novel. So maybe communicating with us, so we can help them setting the right price for our country, finding a way if the cover of their novel is adapted to or could be adapted to our market, because of course there are trends in covers as well. And the marketing strategies in Italy as well are always the same that I think in Canada and in the all English-speaking world are used. So what I always advise my self-publishing author is always to use Kobo Plus to have a much broader readership. So to put your novel in Kobo Plus as soon as you upload it, so that you can try to gain some reviews and some ratings as soon as the novel is out. And also to use all the promotion tools that we are setting up for you. So not only the promotion that we are setting as KWL, but also the promotion that the authors are using themselves.
Thank you. And just a little overview, if anyone who's viewing isn't familiar with Kobo Plus, it's our non-exclusive subscription platform where indie authors can add their books without having to worry about them not being on other places, and they can reach this whole new kind of audience of voracious readers. So we had a question sort of related to it that I'm going to pop up that says, just if a reader borrows a book through Kobo Plus, does that borrow contribute to the book's ranking in store, similar to how a sale would? And just to answer that, it kind of works on a temperature-based thing. But yes is the short answer to that. And that we're going to be kind of doing more and more tests. I think you had a question earlier about changes to the store. We're always testing things. So if you have any feedback, do let us know. And then talking about, I guess, not just Kobo Plus, but is there anything in the French market, Lara, that an indie author should do? I know reach out to the team is really key, and we've dropped in a link to the Italian newsletter. So maybe you could talk a little bit about the French newsletter as well, or anything that you'd recommend an author to do to really make the most of the French market.
Yeah, so maybe a difference from Italy is that I think since last year I've been using the promo tool. I think a lot of English authors are used to use it, and there is a monthly carousel where I put all the title on offer. And so it's renewed every month, and you can definitely submit your translated title. And I will pick like 5 or plus title every week to be featured in this carousel. It's very good for visibility. It's also a good try for us to see if the readership is answering well to this proposition. And then we also add a couple of other promotion that we can definitely include some translation in. But I think the carousel could be a good start.
Yeah, that answers a question that we had, just saying, are there promos for these countries like there are for Canada, Australia, New Zealand? And yes, you'll see the one that Laura is talking about does exist on the promo tool, and any other opportunities maybe happen outside of that. But I think it goes back to what Beatrice said, to like reach out to us to learn more if you're interested.
Definitely. Also, we have a page dedicated to free title. I know it also when you have a big series like in the English author are also used to it, so we can definitely also feature your free title on our dedicated page, for example. But yeah, send us an email and we will see what we can do.
Nice. So Susan, same question for the Dutch market. Is there any tips for authors about really making the most of publishing through Kobo Writing Life?
Yeah, so the free page obviously works very well for us. Basically reach out to us. That's important. Also, I would recommend, I think for all markets, to before you publish a translation, to first look also at what other books on these markets generally look like. The cover is the first thing that people are looking at. So you should probably make sure that your book is not much different from the most popular books in the market at that moment. Other than that, I don't have much to add. I think it's pretty much covered like this.
Nice. And we've dropped the links to each newsletter if you're kind of like a native speaker in those regions. So you can sign up to like the Dutch newsletter, the French one, and the Italian. Those are in the comments there if you're interested. And it's funny you're saying about covers. Do you think it's common to have like a separate cover for translations? Or do you think that that's I'm going a bit off script now, but is that kind of something that you would advise, or at least investigating?
It's good to at least have a look. If you know, usually you'll find that, for instance, romance covers are often the same across countries. But for instance, fantasy can look a little bit different. It's also possible, especially on the Dutch market, we often see that authors keep the English titles and then just put a Dutch edition underneath it and just put it on the market like that, which is in most cases is just fine. Yeah.
And one of the good things about the Kobo website is that when you go to kobo.com, you'll notice there's a little flag at the top that kind of, it indicates to where you're based. But if you click on this flag, it gives you the opportunity to browse all of our localized storefronts. So you can go and see like the covers that the team here are talking about, and you can kind of see comparative books in the different countries around the place. So I think that's an important thing to think about. We have a question here that's, what is the importance of the first book for a new author? Can it be decisive? And I guess I kind of wanted to ask, because Lara, you mentioned the free there. Do you see discounted first book in series or free first book in series something that works in the French market?
Well, I don't have really statistics about that, but definitely there is a lot of downloading for the free ebook. So I would say it's not something that guarantee the success of your title, but it's a good way to make you known. So yeah, but I would say that the first in series is very, very important, because we don't have this. We are not in France. We are not that common with having long series with a lot of different volume in it. So the first one is really important, because people will be reassured to begin with the first one in series. So you really have to put some care for this one.
Yeah, and a lot of the content for like any specific genre of fiction or anything tends to be series. So I feel like that first one having the hook. Do you agree, Beatrice, on like the importance of that first book?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I agree. I know the author that sent the question, and his first novel, it's very good. So yes, it's a good case. It's a good success story. And I think that, as Lara said, it's very important, even if the book is a standalone. I don't think that it's decisive, because, of course, we have plenty of authors that maybe were just testing the waters with their first book, and of course are getting better with their second or third book. But of course, trying to create a readership and a community of readers, it's what will help your books, of course, to sell even better in the future. So yes, I wouldn't call it decisive, but of course having a nice. I think that the first month of life of a book is what can make it or break it. Because if a book starts well, it's easy to try to find new ways to make it relevant. But unfortunately, if it doesn't start well, it's difficult with all the new releases that we have to give the same relevance to all the new releases. So yes.
Nice. And do you have any examples of, I know we talk about kind of like authors that have found success, like globally through Kobo, and you don't have to like name drop specific or anything, but do you have any examples of like how an author might have found success in Italy, for instance?
Yeah, in my case, I have plenty of plenty. I have a couple of names that were literally gone global because they started publishing with us. They published, I would say, about 8 or 10 novels, and they became our di niente, Maurizio. Our our best selling books of the past years. And this success story was so big that the fact that we are really people that speak to each other is what makes me maybe come to Lara and say, okay, I have this very successful author. Do you think it would be worth it to have it translated? And then I put maybe in contact if of course in the country of referral there is a Kobo original project. Of course, we can maybe try to see if the translation can be part of our Kobo original. But otherwise, of course, the author can always decide to have his book translated by a good translator and try to go global. And it's what we have done in the past, and we continue to do, because we are like the Kobo librarians. So you have to trust. Yes, you have to trust the taste of me, Susan, Lara, and Tara, of course, to really understand which are the best books that could possibly go global and speak to each other and see if there are opportunities in different countries.
I always tell authors that like the best booksellers out there are the librarians, and I never considered myself being among them. So, so that's a good takeaway. And the Kobo Originals program, if there's anyone that isn't familiar with it, it's where Kobo has created kind of like original content. So it's either kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like doing a call out for a specific type of book, or maybe working in translations in different markets to see if there's sort of success, and then putting those books just on Kobo. And I think the team are looking at the plans for this year. There's going to be so many Kobo originals coming, so I'm really excited about that. But there is a great relationship between like the indie author and the originals team there. So Lara, do you have any kind of success stories that you can share from what you've seen with independent authors in the French market?
Yeah, so there is very successful English author from United States, among others. But I had a kind of a nice surprise. I think it was last year. We had an author who is based in Netherlands, and I think she is publishing in at least 3 languages. So it shows that you can also, because we know that maybe it's more easier, or it's more obvious for English author to translate in other languages, but definitely you can come from Italy, you can come from Netherlands, and also try to translate in French. So yeah, I like also to see that translators are coming from other languages and other countries. Yeah.
And do you see I feel like some of the top French authors are really savvy in the fact that they've kept their ebook rights and like have taken advantage of using Kobo Writing Life for that? Is that something that you're seeing kind of? I'm trying to think of the name, but I won't say the name per se. But like,
for hybrid author.
Yeah,
Definitely. In France, we are lucky enough to have those now very, very famous author who kept their rights, and because they built first they built their readership on digital platform. So they had this, I think, really good idea to keep their rights. And it's not very easy because publishing house love to handle everything. And so they are doing really well, and they are very careful and aware of all the the market rules and the promotion opportunities. So yeah, it's really, I think, grateful, and for all indie author in France, because they are very powerful and that they are selling a lot, we can definitely organize more promotion and have more space to feature all the different indie authors. So everybody is winning something in this case.
Yeah, I think it's super smart to kind of really leverage the digital and like keep the rights there. It's so interesting to see like the different markets and how they're handling these things. And then Susan, any sort of highlights or success stories from the Dutch market?
Yeah, so as Lara already said, over the past couple of years, we've seen a bunch of Dutch KWL authors branch out, so to say, to sometimes through Kobo Originals and sometimes by their own means, just as KWL authors to other countries in other languages, which is of course lovely to see. I've also seen it the other way around, so authors from the English area who just manage to opt into Kobo Plus, find some readers for the English audience, then think, okay, I'm going to translate to Dutch, and then if they make a good translation, they can actually, they found some success, and it's mostly through Kobo Plus then, but also through their a la carte sales, and it's always nice to see examples like that.
Nice. And I think let's go to translations. We have a question here because it's kind of come up a little bit. I'd love to hear about translations and European publishers who work with indie authors, and just translations in general. So I'd say what I see with some of the trend is a lot of like from an English language I always want to say North American, but that's like taking away from everything else. But from like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK, US perspective, some indies will sell their rights to translations because it's quite hard to do your own translations. You know, you have to get your like marketing materials. You don't necessarily have a beta reader in the area, or a trend like a proofreader. So it can be a lot of work, but there are a lot of people that do it themselves as well. So it's a mix of both, I would say. I would always recommend people to just sort of like do the math on what works for you. Like, does it make more sense to kind of offload this piece, or actually will you earn more by doing it yourself? So translations can be expensive. We don't have like direct kind of recommendations or anything. On our help center, there's a link to Readsy where you can kind of go through and see a bunch of translators. And I think that marketplace for kind of self-publishing consultants, it's all very trusted, and there's lots of I feel like people can rate and see the different translators that you work with. But I always kind of say French would be number one for what I would recommend people to go if they're diving into translations, and then kind of like Italian, Spanish. I know Dutch tends to be more expensive just because it is a little bit more of like that niche like the niche language, not niche language, but it's I guess a smaller readership. So it just can be a bit more expensive. But if you are willing to do it, I think the market is there's a big opportunity there in the market if you have the Dutch content. So yeah, I would say, is there anything, any challenges that you think an author would have with translating their books, and any tips that you've come across? So Beatrice, I'll start with you.
Well, actually, as you were saying, Tara, there are great opportunities for translation in Italy, because I've made a quick scan of our 100 best-selling books in KWL of 2024, and 70% of them were translations.
Oh,
so
wow.
there is a great opportunity here, because our readers don't really care if the book is set in Italy. Actually, I would rather say that maybe a different setting is considered to be more special, exotic. So please, if you have books set in different places, send them to us. And I think that, Tara, to answer your question about the difficulties and the tips, I will take something that Susan said about maybe the covers and the decision of translating or not translating the titles. I have seen that in romance novels, authors tend to not translate their titles, and if there are maybe just one word or two words, or maybe just one short phrase, it can be kept that way. But if your book is not a romance, it's much better for me. This is my advice to translate the title, because our Italian readers, I don't want to say that they don't really speak English, because of course they do, but it's maybe more difficult for them to understand that the book is not in English, even though, of course, on our website there is the flag. So they should know
that's a
that.
great point though, because it's confusing
Yeah.
if your title is in English
Yeah,
but it's actually an Italian book. Yeah.
exactly. Like I think it's something that is similar to our movies, because the movies that it's our cinemas. I have, of course, if they have an English title, it must be very short. Otherwise, if it's long, you're right. Okay, is this an original version, or it's dubbed in Italian? So I think it's the same for the literary market. So yes, maybe changing the cover. Of course, if you're translating the title, also changing the cover is it's pivotal. While of course, if it's not changing, it must be a really short and quick to read title.
I will have the same. Sorry, I will have the same advice for France and for French translation. Yeah, I think Dutch people are maybe an exception, but yeah, I had a look also on the top 100 for Kobo Plus reads, and definitely there is only a few titles which still have the title in English. And yes, it's one word like rainbow or something like that. But definitely, I would recommend to try a translation for the title.
And I guess that's something to keep in mind to negotiate with your translator as well, to like include the metadata, like the synopsis, or like, you know, if you have a tagline for the book or anything like that. Not just the manuscript itself. There's some other pieces that sort of need the same. Susan, any tips on your side?
Well, I never really understood the trend in the Netherlands to keep the title untranslated, but it should probably has something to do with the fact that English is also a popular language to read in. If you do translate your title to Dutch, make sure that it only starts with a capital and then it's only lowercase letters in the rest of the title. That's also a Dutch thing to do. So English titles are often with capital at the beginning of every word, and in Dutch you generally don't do that. Just a small tip on the side. And what I usually see in terms of challenges is that finding a decent editor and having somebody look at the translation who is trustworthy enough and gives you tells you if the quality is okay. That's important to have. And I still sometimes see books that were translated but not really edited, and then it's then the first impression that the reader gets is not too great.
Mm-hmm. I think it can be so hard. Like that's why I think some people do just like sell their translations, or sell the translation rights to not have to sort of deal with that. But I guess you never know either if the publishing company is also doing a thorough job. So yeah, definitely calling out to people in those areas, I think would be something that's beneficial. So when it comes to marketing, not just for translations, but I was kind of thinking about how some of the authors I talk to, they even have like newsletters in the different translations. So they would send a newsletter in 4 languages, which I think is awesome, but must be so time consuming. But just for marketing in general, are the tactics different from country to country? I feel like the trends that indie authors do probably are the same. But do you have any advice sort of about marketing to Kobo, or any pricing tips or anything? I'll start with you, Lara.
Well, for marketing, I think we have talked a bit about the cover, the title. I can't agree more with you, Tara. I would ask the translator even to check my page on Kobo because I saw a lot of mistake in the summary, and that is really, really annoying. So. And it worth asking the translator to really check until the end to make sure there is because it's not your language, so you will not see a bad copy paste thing. So yeah, definitely be careful with that. And to add maybe with the pricing, I will say it's a bit the same. Please have a look to the web store in France, or we will maybe talk about that later, in Belgium, in Switzerland, just to make sure your prices are aligned with the market. Sometimes I see people that, who are putting the same price in all the currencies. There is still a difference, and you may want to make a bit more money in other currency. So there is not the same conversion rate. So yeah, definitely for French title, we are lucky enough to have a French speaking readership outside of France. In fact, I think it's a quarter of our net sale which come from outside of France. So this is something, and we have.
I think that's super important with the translations, like that, like there's Quebec, as you said, there's Switzerland, there's so many other like French speaking areas that it's not just like France that we focus on. And I know you keep an eye on sort of like the global French market as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We call that a global French. I don't know if it's a name for everybody, but yeah, optimize your prices. That's very important. As you said, there is Belgium, there is Switzerland. For Belgium and France, and for even Italy or Netherlands, it will be euros. So easy. Everybody is using this currency, so that's a good thing. For Quebec, it will be Canadian dollar, so easy also. And for Switzerland is Swiss franc. So don't forget about that, because we have a growing community there. We launched Kobo Plus last spring, so we definitely have some more opportunity in Switzerland for French title.
Yeah, that's a great tip, because unfortunately our website doesn't auto convert to a very nice thing. But what I always tell authors to do is to go in and like round up, because like you're saying, you can earn more money if you're going to optimize your pricing. And customers tend to be so drawn to like the 99-cent price ending. So I definitely would round up where you can, and do some research into each market and make sure that you're setting at least because I mean, we have 15 to add, which I know can be a lot, but if you're at least hitting the top 5 or 6 or 7, or what's relevant to that book, like Lara said, if your book is French, you definitely want to include the Swiss franc price to make it like pretty pricing. Yeah, I think that's a super valuable tip. Beatrice, is there any marketing tactics for the Italian market that you have advice for?
Yes, I would add that, of course, it depends on the genre that you are writing your novel. But if you are writing a romance, I think that something that's really useful, and it's linked to what Lara was saying, is to maybe be sure that in your blurb there are some, of course, tropes. I know that they are lame. Some people think they're cringe, but they always sell. So if your
They're
book
so
is a
popular
sport
now,
book,
though.
yeah,
Tropes is such
I
a
use
trend.
them.
Yeah.
I use them to read my romance novels, because I know that I don't know. I like dark academia. I like sport romances. I like enemies to lovers, but I despise friends to lovers. I would like to know if if the book that I'm reading is using some of these tropes, because sometimes it can make or break the selling of the book. So I know that some authors find them quite confining, but they are useful. So maybe if you don't like to have them in the beginning of your blurb, maybe have them just in the bottom with an hashtag, or just one quote saying a cute I don't know, enemies to lovers setting, blah blah blah. And I think it's really useful for readers to understand if it's what they're looking for. And since you, Tara, were talking about authors having newsletters to have a way maybe to, I think, promote their books and find their community, I think that's something that we have seen in Italy that really works, maybe even better than newsletters are, of course, the social media. So try and curate an author page to maybe get people interested in your book, trying to have collages of all the inspiration of the book to get people understanding which is the vibe, which could be the face of the characters, which are the themes, maybe to have some quotes. I mean, I think that really curating, not really spending a lot of time, but just giving a face to your book, having the cover shown or some nice quotes, or maybe just the incipit could get people more interested, because of course, we as Kobo librarians, we have, of course, space in our carousels, but a lot of work is also on of course, on the author. So I think that at least 30% of the job is the author finding ways to promote themselves on internet.
And is there any, I know a lot of the author groups, because social media is so changing now, where do you see Italian authors most? Is it mostly Facebook groups that are still really beneficial?
Yes, I think that for our readership and the kind of also authors that we have, the age group is more on Facebook, and on Facebook group in which indie authors are trying to find ways to give writing advice to one another and give advice on how to promote their book. But we are also seeing a rise on Instagram, since of course, unfortunately, us, the millennial part of this generation, are also trying to get more interested in indie publishing, which I think so. So I think that it's Facebook and Instagram, and not yet TikTok, which has a much younger audience.
Yeah, I would say if you were wondering as an author which one to tackle first, I would definitely go. Even on the English side, Facebook is probably your number one. And then, yeah, looking at the other ones. But to start building, if you were a new author, to start building your base, I would go to Facebook first, as we're streaming live on Facebook now. So, Susan, do you have any kind of marketing tactics for the Dutch market specifically?
Yeah, I love mentioning the tropes in the synopsis. It's something that the successful authors here are doing as well. I would also highly recommend that. In the Netherlands, we don't have many places where you can actually advertise for books, but social media is the place to be, as you all said. I think for Netherlands, it goes that Facebook is where many readers are. So there are bigger reader groups about Kobo Plus and about where to find books and which books to read. On Instagram, we have a nice author community. So if you know any authors who are successful in the Dutch language or in the Netherlands, team up with them to do blog tours to try and get your book known in their audiences as well. Indie authors, of course, always willing to help each other with these kind of things, which is so lovely about the indie community. Yeah, I think those are the most important advices. Most authors just advertise via social media and blog tours and things like that. Yeah.
Nice. And we're seeing sort of an increase on Vanessa, who's doing our comments, is responsible for our growing audience on Threads, which is sort of like a new, I guess, as people are moving away from different unnamed 100-character websites. But are you seeing Threads being popular in the European areas, or is it people haven't really jumped into it yet? Because there's like quite a thriving community there. We haven't really looked at Blue Sky, but Threads definitely jumps out. No, not yet. Maybe
as we'll start. We'll start it. I'm not on it myself. No.
not for Italy. I think that Threads is till now it's just been like the copy paste of the unnamed social media.
Right.
And so right now it's in Italy. It's mostly used, to just comment on contemporary news. So I don't really see it as a marketing strategic social media platform for authors, at least in my country. So even the most successful authors in Italy don't really use it. The only way they use it is if they maybe write like nonfiction books, and which maybe they are tackling some topics. And so in that case, this kind of social media could be the best, but not for other reasons, no.
Yeah, I see it almost as it's kind of like a nice place for like the authors to gather, even without necessarily like selling directly to readers. That's what we've seen so far, but who knows? It's early days for us there because we only joined a couple months ago. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how it plays out. So we've talked a little bit about the regional promotions that happen. You've all sort of like mentioned the things that happen in your areas in terms of how authors can promote books. Was there anything that we didn't mention that you wanted to highlight? I know, Lara, you went into kind of in depth that it'll be on the promo tool. Beatrice or Susan, was there anything that you wanted to chat about?
Well, in my case, my plan for this year is to create 6 regional promos just open to KWL authors, which is a great opportunity for them to really display their books, because of course I always reach out to the most successful one or the most interesting new releases authors to say, oh, okay, there is, I don't know, like this St. Valentine promo with all romance books. But of course, you understand that competing with hundreds of books of other publisher can get your book slide in the end of our visibility carousel. So I always try to find a way to display the KWL authors in a carousel list just for them, because I don't want them to get overwhelmed with all the other stuff that is on that carousel. So in 2025, we plan to do 6 dedicated promos, which will count on the support also of our dedicated email. So we are trying to do shorter promos to keep the momentum of the book and not have them on the website for ages in the same place, but have them kind of switching around to also keep the readers more engaged. So 6 dedicated promos and at least other 6 or 10 non-dedicated promos. So yes, there will be a lot of opportunities for authors that would like to have a little bit of more visibility this year.
I feel like a newsreader, because that felt like breaking news. There's going to be like 6 promos.
Yeah. Yes, they were 3 last year. So we're trying to double them.
And is the best place for people to learn about that through the Italian newsletter?
Yes, exactly. We weren't doing that till now. So if you are an Italian author and you have received our newsletter in the past and you didn't see any mention of the promotion, it's everything fine. It's true. You didn't maybe read half of it. It's something that we are starting to do this year, exactly because we want to have the most opportunity for everyone. So yes, so keep in mind that you have to subscribe to our newsletter and or reach out directly to us to tell us that your book is promising, and we will try to find a place in our promotion.
And follow the socials. I forgot to mention that there's socials for each of these different markets as well. So be sure to follow along. Is there anything that you wanted to add, Susan or Lara, to like the promotional piece for kind of specific to, I was going to say the Netherlands and France, but it's actually expanded beyond of that with the global French and Dutch markets.
Yeah, so for the Netherlands, we're also going to organize several specific regional promotions for KWL. But
more
we're
breaking
also,
news. I love this.
I talked to our content sales lead today, and we're also going to experiment a little bit with types of promotions that were quite unconventional for the Dutch market, such as a buy more, save more. That's something we don't do a lot.
Ooh.
So yeah, we're going to try that as well. And if anyone is interested, our promos are also advertised in our newsletter. If you share the fact that you have translated works with us, I can put you on a list to be invited to stuff like that whenever we have an opportunity for you.
That's awesome. Lara, anything that we didn't cover promo-wise?
Yeah. On top of this carousel, there is also other promos supported by email, just like in Italy and in Netherlands. Just maybe to add to what Beatrice was saying about the drops for the first time. So it will be next month in February. We will do a promotion which I shared on the promo tool, and it will be based on the drops. So we ask the author to submit the title precising as a drop. So I think for romance, it will be something that we will be using more and more in the future. So it's also very useful for us to prepare the promotion.
Nice. And what's your favorite trope? Because we got Beatrice's. Do you have a favorite?
I can't say because it's friends to lovers. So Beatrice will despise me.
Yes, she's very vanilla. Of course, she is friends to lovers.
Susan, what's your favorite?
Yeah, I only heard of it very recently, but my new favorite is the Grumpy and Sunshine one.
Oh.
I didn't know it existed, but I really like the concept.
Love that. So we've mentioned it a little bit, but Kobo Plus, which is again our non-exclusive subscription platform. So as a reader, you can pay a certain amount a month, and it's all you can read and listen, depending on the region that you're in. So it's either read, listen, or read and listen. And then on the author side, you can opt your books in. There's no required time limit. You can remove them at any time, though obviously we recommend that you keep them in for as long as you can. But you can even select the countries that you want to try Kobo Plus in. We're currently in 21 countries, which is wild. And there will be more coming soon. Can't quite say where. But is there any tips that you have about why somebody should opt their books into Kobo Plus? Lara, I'll start with you.
Yeah, but definitely if you have romances or if you have a fantasy title, this is not maybe the more popular genre, but the reader are in Kobo Plus. Definitely, we saw some switch between people buying by unit romances, and now they are subscriber in Kobo Plus. I think so. Definitely, if you have romances, Kobo Plus is the place to be.
Nice. Beatrice, why should people opt in the Italian Kobo Plus market?
Because it's literally money on top. When we do business reviews with our authors, we always show them how their sales, since they have opted in their books in Kobo Plus, have not been jeopardized at all. Maybe the other way around, because more people have tried to get into this new genre and maybe loved their books that was in Kobo Plus, and then they have bought the books that maybe they weren't in Kobo Plus, or they have recommended the book to a friend, they have written a review on our website or other places, or maybe they have gifted a gift card to a friend and they've recommended our book. So in any way, Kobo Plus does not jeopardize the a la carte sales. It's just money on top. So every one of our authors that has done it has never regretted it. So even people taking their books out of Kobo Plus, it's quite unusual, at least for the Italian market, because people, our indie authors, really see that there is only beneficial to do that.
Nice. And Susan, anything to add?
Yeah, so in the Netherlands, we see that Kobo Plus has been around for quite a while.
It was our first market.
Yeah. It was the first market. And what we see with readers in Kobo Plus is that they don't buy that many ebooks anymore. So it's basically an extra audience here. And for the Netherlands, it goes that you have to, I would almost say you have to be in Kobo Plus because that's where your revenue is for the Dutch market. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important to kind of take advantage of these things. And yeah, it's where we started in 2017 in the Netherlands and have such a strong audience there that, yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't add it. But if you wanted to select specific countries, you definitely can do that. And if you're opting your books in, and if you select all countries, it also includes any future ones that we launch in. So when we do roll out these new countries, you don't have to do anything, which is kind of, I think, really great and easy. So we just know that these books are available in all of these places. So yeah, I definitely would lean into Kobo Plus as an indie author. I'm wondering as well, this is just kind of coming to me as whenever I look at the books that are being read in Kobo Plus, the ones that sort of go to the top tend to be box sets, which makes sense because they're longer, so they have more minutes. Do you see indie authors taking advantage of like box sets and bundles in your respective markets? Beatrice is shaking her head.
No, I'm shaking my head because unfortunately not. We have tried to do some experiments in the past years, but Italian readers tend to not really appreciate, but not really seeing the value in box sets as other countries' readers do. I think it's because even of course boxes can be discounted, so we have tried daily deals with box sets. It seems to be that the average selling price in Italy is already low. So readers don't really see the point of buying all 3 or maybe 4 or maybe 5 books at once, because they can just try to read the one because it's very cheap, because we have, of course, tons of promotion and the average selling price is low. And then if they like it, they will buy the following others. So, of course, it's even better for the author because if they feel if they get the trust of the reader, they are selling a la carte books. Everyone in the series, I mean, not just in box set, but every single book get sold. But yes, box sets for some reasons don't work in Italy.
Interesting. Is it the same in the French market?
No, actually, well, as you say, it's because there is a lot of minutes in a box set that there will be on top of the Kobo Plus title. Actually, I think the top title for 2024 is a box set. But I really think it's a good idea because, a reader don't have to ask themselves any questions. They can just go on and have volume after volume. So, no, I think it's really a good idea. And just because you will like go up in the top, we will maybe notice you because we miss your release, for example. So I would say if you have a series, it will be very useful to try to have a box set.
Nice. Susan?
Yeah, so we've seen a couple of examples that did work, where box sets were successful, but it's not a big phenomenon here either. What works better would be the first in series free, the second book that's read, it will increase the temperature of the entire series at some point, so they'll be more visible in Kobo Plus, and that's where the ball starts rolling. But I wouldn't discourage making a box set. You can always do it, but it's not our biggest point of sale.
I always think it's just another thing to market. So if you already have all of it, like why wouldn't you just have another thing that you could market, you know? And then you can really experiment with some of it as well. Because we have some authors that do, you know, if it's a really long series, they might have multiple box sets and then have like one like super duper box set that is everything. Because with Kobo, when it's priced over $9.99, you're still earning 70%, not like on some other platforms where you're sort of discounting. So on the English side, we definitely see some higher price points on the box sets. But as we're winding down, I know it's getting later over in Europe, and I kind of just wanted to, thank you for your time. This has been so valuable, and I hope that we have you on again soon. Maybe before the end of the year, we can have you on again. But I wanted to ask you kind of, how do I phrase this? So I think from my perspective, one of my favorite things about working at Kobo is the fact that we're very global and we do see things in that way. So whenever authors are kind of deciding how to publish and we like if they're thinking about why to go to Kobo, I always think about the global aspect. So I guess I'll ask each of you, why should somebody choose Kobo, just to finish up? So Susan, I'll start with you.
And why choose Kobo? To be available absolutely everywhere, to go wide in the best possible way.
Nice. Lara, why Kobo?
Well, I think because also we are human behind our screen. So as Beatrice mentioned, we do some business review with top author. We try to be as available as possible. So there is really a human being caring for the catalog behind the screen.
Nice. And Beatrice, why Kobo?
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing as Lara. I mean, I think that the real interesting point of Kobo is that we are real people that love books, that love to care about books and find the best way to display them in our digital bookshelves. So yes.
Nice. Real people that will argue over the best tropes.
Real people, exactly. So real people that you can reach out to, real people that will try to get you back as soon as they can, and real people that you can rely to. So.
Yeah, and if you have any questions that didn't get answered, feel free to email us at writinglife@kobo.com. I'm putting this up just because we share the same name. Tara says hello from Belgium. Thanks for the time and looking forward to using Kobo Plus with her release. So that's really awesome to see. And then we have that's the best thing I've heard, human beings behind the screen. So thanks so much. So thank you all for your time, and thanks everyone for viewing, and we'll be back next month. Thanks so much. I really appreciate you all. I should have learned, I was going to say thank you in each language, but I'm not going to embarrass myself. So thank you.
Merci.
Grazie.